Welcome to the Shortwave Radio Channel. And a question I've seen a couple of times in the last couple of weeks is about distance from power lines. How far from power lines should we be to have quiet listening? And of course, power lines are everywhere. I live in a neighborhood here where there's power lines going through just across the street. There's actually a 12,000 volts line going through the street here, which is, and I have the joy of being right in front of one of the big transformers like this that actually delivers the current, lowers the current and voltage to the different houses. So, of course, you might think, well, if I live near a power line like this, or it could be even a power line more in the huge power lines that distribute the current. Of course, this simple answer is as far away as possible from the lines is the best. But how far does noise and how much noise can these create? And this has to do with so many different factors. First of all, it'll have to do with how well maintained they are, because some can be notoriously noisy if they have little sparks, and sometimes you'll hear the power lines kind of. It sounds a little bit like frying bacon. I say all the time. It sounds like there's a little something happening electrically, especially on these very high voltage power lines. So by experience, what I notice is that so I'm across the street from the lines. If I was on the same side of the street for the lines, would I have more noise? It's a good question, and it actually makes me want to go around with a little portable radio and check out to see, if power lines actually, if I would be on the other side of the street, would I have more noise? But I don't seem to have much of an impact here of those power lines. So that's one of the first things. And when we have power outages, obviously those lines are off. And I still get a lot of noise, and I don't see a difference. So it doesn't seem that my noise comes from there. But there is definitely noise, especially with these high tension power lines. When I go to Perry Island, I got power lines like these that actually cross on the west part of the Perry Island. And what I noticed is when I get within, say, about 25, 30 feet from them, I start immediately seeing a slow rise in the noise floor. So if I'm completely at the east end of the island, which is more than 100 feet distance, I barely notice. I do notice, but I barely notice that the noise is there, and it's so low that it doesn't have much of an impact or disturb my listening experience. But like I said, when you get below like less than 50 feet away, I start hearing that there's a general background noise that rises as I get closer to the power lines. So these, of course, as far away as possible, if they just cross right next to your house, there are some neighborhoods here where I could see these power lines, these high tension lines, right next to houses. I would not stay there, not just for the noise problem. I'd not stay there because I don't like being that close to these high tension lines. But you definitely would have a lot more noise, probably because of those. And the other types of power lines, which are the ones that most of us live close to, a lot of us do live close to these. Once again, maintenance is very important. I lived where I lived before. There was one of these lines that actually was having a little spark going on. You couldn't see it, but you could hear it, especially when it was very humid days. And I actually called the power company, and they fixed the problem. So don't hesitate if you do have that type of noise, and you can actually pinpoint where it's coming from, to call your power company. They will fix it, because if there is such a little spark arcing going on. It actually not only can make the equipment less efficient and break faster, it also is a loss of power in some cases. But these, if they're well maintained, are not too bad in general. But once again, as far away as possible. And anyways, you don't want to get any wires and antenna close to those and at any time anyways. But as far away as possible. If you have those in front of your house, for example, or in the backyard, well, I would put the antenna at the opposite end on the the land. So if I have them in the, like here, they would be in the front of the house. I'd put the antenna in the backyard, so it's as far away as possible. But it's a good question, and it's very variable. The distance the noise can actually creep from these power lines, depending on the maintenance and how, and also the amount of power being used. They tend to be noisier in winter because there's a lot more current going through, because a lot of there's more heating, especially if you have electrical heating. That will be something that will, of course, here, this is what we have here in Montreal mostly. So the amount of current going through is much higher in the winter, and that can actually make also the interference more intense. So, but, the simple rule is as far away as possible from these is the best. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, give us thumbs up. Thank you for watching.